Hello, it's Karen Burniston here with an assembly video for one of our die sets. This is die number 1277, the boat pop-up, and you can check out all of our die designs at KarenBurniston.com. The boat pop-up die set includes 11 pieces, and they combine to make an adorable little rowboat. You can see everything in the center of that card is made using the die set. This is a pop-up that operates best with lightweight materials, and that's because in the collapsed folded down position, you've got stacked tabs, both near the fold and kind of out in the middle. So to keep that card nice and flat for mailing, use those lightweight materials. You can absolutely use like a double-sided pattern paper. That's thick enough to use for this pop-up. So I've found some wood grain paper in my stash. I cut the boat deck and I cut the boat seat out of that wood grain paper. And then for a solid, I have this gray cardstock that is 65 pounds. So that is lightweight cardstock, and I'm die cutting all of the main pieces of the boat. You can use any die cutting machine that can accommodate a wafer thin die, and today I'm using my Spellbinders Platinum 6. Again, back to the scrap bin for a shiny brown to use with the oars. And then for the waves, I'm going to cut through 2 layers. So I found a lightweight blue cardstock so that I'd be able to cut through 2 layers at once. For the boat, there is an optional stencil feature. So if you'd like to add some stripes to the boat, you can just put the paper right back in the die again and then just use a pen. I like these retractable white gel pens. We have those now on our website. And then you can just go through the die and add those stripes. You could also get the stripes by using a sponge and some ink. So completely optional, but you can add those stripes. Okay, now I'm going to find all the folds in the piece, and they're all going to fold away from me like a mountain fold. So the folds around the perimeter are going to bring that other side around, and the tapered tab will connect them. But before I connect it, I want to do a little bit of work on the boat in the flat position. So locating the tab that's for the front of the boat, that's the one that's the skinnier tab. And I'm just going to put an F on that one for front and a B for back. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to transfer the F and the B to the other side of the tab. So I'm just going to flip it over, and here at the bottom, I'm once again going to write F for front, B for back. Okay, so flipping that back around to the front again, I am going to add the wave pieces now while this boat is flat. So a little bit of a fine glue along the bottom edge of the sides of the boat. And then the die set includes 2 wave pieces. They are mirror image from each other, and they have a little blunt flat end, and that's the side that meets up at that fold line on the side of the boat. So I go in there and I just put it right along the edge of the bottom of the boat with the blunt flat end towards the fold. And then the pointy end of the wave is going to overlap onto the front and the back of the boat. The overlap in the back will be longer. So the front is going to be just a small little overhang like this. The back is going to be a larger overhang. Okay, now I'm going to use that tapered tab that's on the boat to connect the other sides together. So I love glue for the pop-ups. My favorite glue is LINECO Neutral pH Adhesive in my fine tip bottle. We sell both of those items on our website. So a little bit of glue to attach the tapered tab to the other side. And I can do that in the flat position. So the flat position for the boat is when both of the base tabs line up over the top of each other. And then you'll be able to give that a really good press. Okay, so there is the boat put together, and now I just need to add those waves on the other side. And once again, just looking for the blunt edge of the waves to meet in the fold of the boat. All right, now moving on to the deck of the boat. So the first thing to find is the center fold. Now that fold goes through the center slot. So don't be fooled by where the point is out on the side. Just go through the center slot. That's where the fold is. You'll see that the ends come even when you find that fold, but it is not where that little point is on the side. So don't get distracted by that. It's right through the center slot. That fold in the deck is a valley fold, meaning you're folding pretty side to pretty side. Okay, next up are going to be the U supports. So these pieces have 2 score lines in them. You're going to fold them both in the same direction so that you create a U shape with the piece. It does not matter if you fold towards yourself or away from yourself, and you don't even have to be consistent between the 2 pieces because they're the same, whether you fold them one way or the other. Just make sure that they come up into a U shape. Okay, those tabs out on the end are going to go through the slots of the deck. but they're too wide right now. So to make them fit the slot, I have to temporarily fold in the two sides of the tab. And that will make that tab a size and shape that will fit through the slot on the boat. So I'm starting here with the center. It doesn't really matter where I start, but I'm going to start with the center slot. So once I get that tab through, then I can unfold the two wings and that will lock that tab into place so it can't pull back out again. Okay, then I bring the U over to the other slot. Now I can try folding in just one half of the tab, getting the other half hooked through the opening, slide the rest of the tab through, and then unfold. So you can definitely try it both ways, see what's easiest for you. But, you know, folding in both sides is pretty easy. There are some tick marks on those tabs to be able to fold them in, but I don't even bother looking for them. I just fold them in because all I'm trying to do is just get that tab, you know, thin enough where I can get it through the slot and then unfold to lock it into place. The center slot is going to get tabs from both U supports. So that's why those lightweight materials can really be helpful, not only to keep the bulk down in the card, but also just to make it easier to get two tabs through that one slot. Okay, so now that tab is locked and I just have to do the final slot. So once again, I'm just going to fold in the two sides of the tab just to get it to a size that will fit through that slot. I wiggle it through the slot and then I unfold the two wings to lock it into place. Okay, so here is the deck of the boat with the U supports attached. Next up is the seat of the boat. So there are two fold lines in it. They're both going to fold away from me. And then that shape is such that it fits on the back half of the boat, suspended between the center tabs and the back tabs. Okay, so that's the way it fits. It doesn't really fit on the front of the boat. It'll be too wide right here. So it really does need to go in the spot where it fits, which is right here. Okay, now before I glue this seat on, I'm going to go ahead and glue these two tabs together. So the center one, there's two tabs right now. I'm going to glue those together so that they'll just be a single one. And then let's talk about the center U support area right here. It can be glued together so that it just operates like a single stalk, I guess, up the center fold of the card. And I've taken to just doing that for all the boats now. I didn't initially. I mean, with the rowboat, it wouldn't really matter. You don't have a mast going through there, so it could separate a little bit in the fold like that. But now I've just kind of taken to just gluing it together all the time. Okay, so now I'm ready to add that seat. So again, I want to glue it to that center tab. And I think the easiest is just to lay it down in front of the tab and just line it up so that it's centered, butt it right up to the tab, add my glue to the tab itself, and then I can just collapse the U support down on the back and that will bring that tab over and onto the back of the seat. So then I've got that first part attached. And then I want to put the other side on this tab over here so I can find a flat position. Once again, I can just press the U supports down and then that will bring the tab forward. Then I can add the glue on the tab. And then the seat, I can also just do that in a flat position. So I just flatten the seat down until the tab comes over and, you know, gets into that glue. And then now I've connected that seat. So you can see that as the U support comes up, the seat just kind of completes the box. The die set also comes with a rectangle that has a score in the middle. So what you can do is just fold that on that score line. And what that piece will do is it will convert any tab that you're not using for something else into just a decorative crossbar in the boat. So you just have to coat the whole interior portion with adhesive and then sandwich it right around a tab. Now what that does is just kind of pretty up that tab. So the tab is probably a little unsightly because you've had to fold in the wings. And so by putting that rectangle sandwiched around the tab, it just makes it into a decorative crossbar. Okay, so now the deck of the boat can be glued inside the hull of the boat, and there is a direction to it. You have to make sure that the front lines up with the front. So I can label the U supports underneath the deck front and back as well. So now when I set that deck down into that boat hull and I line up the shapes correctly, then when I flip it over, I should have an F lining up with an F and a B lining up with the B. Okay, so collapsing the deck down, then what I can do is add the glue to the U support, and I want to stop when I get to the fold line. So I'm going to start out at the end. I'm going to go down until I get to the fold line, and I'm going to coat that with adhesive, and then I've got the F tab from the boat that's going to go right to the end there, right to basically the fold line. And then I'm just looking, since it's tapered, I'm looking at the sides to make sure that it looks even and straight to me. See, I have an even amount on either side of the taper. Okay? All right, then I'm going to flip the piece around. And then the B tab is going to come up and attach to the U support on the B side. So once again, the adhesive goes on the U support because that's the shorter of the two things I'm trying to glue together. So that's where I want my adhesive. Then I bring that B tab all the way to the end, and that will now connect those two pieces together. A really great feature of the boat pop-up is that it can be completely assembled off of the card. Okay, time to add the oars. So there are the oar holders, and those have a keyhole kind of shaped hole in them where the end of the oar will go through that hole. But then you can lock the oar into place by gluing the oar holder inside the boat such that the keyhole part is taken away, and then the oar won't pull back out again. So I hold the oar out of the way, and then I add my adhesive kind of around the keyhole portion of that oar holder. And then I'm going to glue that into the boat just forward of the center fold in the boat. Now, it could just as easily go just behind the center fold. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of up to you as to where those go. But now that oar is locked into place, so it cannot pull back out again. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So the oar goes through the hole of the oar holder. Then I add some adhesive around the keyhole portion, glue that in so that the keyhole is taken away, and then now those oars cannot pull back out again. Okay, so this rowboat is ready for a card. And in the flat position, it does get very flat. And that is because I chose those lightweight materials. So you can see even with all of those layers stacked on top of each other, it's going to be nice and flat in the finished card. With our dies, you choose your card size. And I did say on the packaging that the minimum card size is an A2, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. But actually, you can fit the boat in a slimline card. So 3 1/2 inches on the width is actually your minimum. For the video card, I am going to make an A2 size card because I'm copying the styling of the packaging card. So I started with a piece of cardstock, 8 1/2 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches tall, scored in the middle for folding. And then to that, I added a couple pieces of pattern paper, just something I found in my stash that had some waves on it. Now, speaking of waves, those little wave dies that come in the set can make a nice little embellishment as well. So I'm going to do a little border of waves by gluing 3 of them along this decorative piece of paper. And I'm not going to worry about the seams between them because I'm going to strategically place embellishments to cover those seams. So that's just a 1-inch piece of a pattern paper that I found in my stash. Then I added those little wave pieces to it, and then I've got a little 1/4 inch strip of an accent color that I'll add along the edge. I repeated that decoration on the other side, and now I'm ready to put the boat inside the card. So the first thing I have to decide is which way do I want it to point? Do I want it to be facing to the left or to the right? I've decided on the right for this card. So I'm going to collapse it down, and I'm going to add my adhesive all over my front boat tab. And when I do that, I do want to bring the glue all the way out to the score line at the front of the boat. I want that entire tab glued down all the way out to the score line for the best open. Now that tab is going to butt up to the center fold of the card. So I like to lift the left side up so that I don't accidentally cross the fold with my tab, but I do want to butt it right up to the fold. And then I'm just centering it top to bottom. And I'm gluing the F boat tab down now. So the front of the boat is now glued inside the card. And then what I want to do is add my adhesive all over the B tab. So the boat tab for the back. And again, I want to go all the way up to the score line because I want to have the nice wide open on the boat. So I need to get all the way to the score line with the adhesive. Then I'm going to keep that stack nice and flat as I bring the other side of the card up and over that stack and into that adhesive. So that's going to be real thick right there in the fold, even with those lightweight materials. But just get the card up and over the stack. And then the first time you open it, I suggest just holding the front and the back of the boat and giving it a good press as you open it. And that's all there is to it. That's how you install the boat inside a card. You can see those fun waves along the bottom. Now they stick out further in the back of the boat, so there's more of an overhang. And generally, they don't stick out so far that they won't still close. You can kind of bend them in a little bit to help with that. And then as they close, they will just kind of collapse in with the boat. Now they are going to scrape across the card a little bit, and if that bugs you, you could glue them down to the back of the boat. The front ones, they're never an issue. They're just a barely overhang, and they just will close down. They don't really creak against the card. They're fine. But your other option would be just to snip off some of the excess or all of the excess. So those are your choices. You can leave it. It'll make kind of a little bit of a scrapey sound. You can trim off the excess waves, or you can glue them down on the back of the boat. Now you can certainly just leave the oars hanging and just let them do what they're going to do. But if you would like to anchor them in place, then you can just choose an angle that stays within the card. Now, how can you check that? Use some kind of temporary tape to just hold that oar in place while you close the card and check it. Check that it's high enough off of the water so it's not scraping against the card. Check that it's at such an angle that it's staying within the limits of the card in the closed position. Once you have a position that works, you can go in there with a spot of glue and attach the oar to the oar holder and anchor it into place. And then again, just check it, make sure it stays in the card. And then I just did the same on the other side, just kind of matching the oar placement. Adding some weight to the card itself will help it stay open for display. So I'm going to put a piece of leftover decorative pattern paper on the back of the card. And you can already see the difference in the weight of that side. It's just going to stay open much nicer. And of course, I'm going to decorate the front, so that will add the weight to that. In this release, we have some coordinating 3x4 sentiment stamps. So the Sail Away sentiments has some good ones to go with the rowboat. So I am using All You Need Is Love and a Boat. I'm just using an acrylic block in my favorite black ink, which is VersaFine. But you can also use these in your stamp positioner, and they do stamp really nicely. I also stamped Live, Love, Lake, and now I'm going to use some circles out of our Circles Crosshatch die set to cut out those two greetings. Then if I nest the two smallest dies together and cut them at the same time, I will create a ring to go around my Live, Love, Lake. Now I'm going to switch to our camping charms because I like the hat and the fish out of that set. So on the hat, I actually drew a couple fishing lures through the hat band. And then what I'm going to do with that is attach it to the ring that's going to go around the Live, Love, Lake. I snip the string of the hat so that I can weave it onto the ring. And then I'm just going to attach the right side of the ring around my greeting. And then I can adjust the location of the hat string so that it doesn't obscure my greeting, and then secure everything with glue. With charms, you just trim off the charm hole if you want to use them as standalone elements. So with the fish out of the camping charms, I just styled it, cut off the charm hole, and then now I can just glue that in the water. I cut 2 more oars, and then now I'm going to complete the inside of the card by adding my oars and my circle embellishments and placing them strategically so that they cover up the seams between the waves. And now you wouldn't know that that wasn't a continuous wave border. My favorite way to make card fronts is just to repeat elements and make a simple lead-in. So I've done a ring using those circles again, and then I added one of the oar holders in the oars. Once again, I'm being strategic with how I place my elements so that they will cover up the seams between the waves. And then 2 more fish on the front of the card. So there it is, my new version of the packaging card. It just basically followed the exact same format. All I did was just trade out some of the colors and the patterns. To mail this card, I just need a standard A2 size envelope. So that's the assembly of the boat pop-up. I decorated mine as a side fold card, but you can absolutely decorate it as a top fold card, and the assembly is the same. Now, in a separate video, I did show a way that you can add a slot and an L support if you would like to have somebody sitting in your rowboat. So in this case, I made a little tiny gnome fisherman, and I will put that link in the description box below. The boat pop-up is a foundation die. So what I mean by that is that there are add-ons to fit it. So those are sold separately, but you can get those add-ons and you can convert your boat into a sailboat or a pirate ship. And then we have additional add-ons planned for future releases. And then to further accent the sailboats and the pirate ships, there are 2 new border sets, the set sail borders and the pirate borders. I love to end assembly videos with some inspiration from our very talented design team. Jen Webster made a slimline card where she combined the boat pop-up with the tent pop-up, and then she animated the fire using a small band box. I just love this whole entire camping scene. Sue Small Crider used a Velcro closure on this card, and then she has two pop-ups inside. So the boat pop-up with a couple that's rowing around for their anniversary, and then a Lorna label, Love You, Happy Anniversary on the other side. I like how her oars are just loose. Sandy Diller also made a camping card by combining the tent pop-up with the rowboat. And I like this idea of adding the rope to kind of tie off the boat at the edge of the lake. And then she has a band box animating the tree and raccoon scene. So just super, super cool scenes that can be made by combining these pop-up dies. Lois Bach has a tiny gnome rowing the rowboat in this thank you card. I like her oar placement. And then ending with two similar Father's Day cards made by Nikki Foden, where she just changed out the colors between the two. And I particularly like those white oars. The boat pop-up die is available now at a lot of your favorite local and online retailers, as well as from our website, KarenBurniston.com. Thanks for watching. If you click on the website link, you'll go to KarenBurniston.com, where you can purchase these dies as well as find links to our other social media accounts. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.